people into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
on the point of order.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
No agreement with the EU, but
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Glad to have you back on Press Roundtable on Atlantic Television Network. This evening, I have a media practitioner, a journalist, a news editor. His name is Stanley Amadi. Stanley, good to have you.
Thank you.
Thank
it's
you
always
very
a
much.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I am Angel Wokoma. I'm popularly called Angelic Angel on the social media. So this evening, we're going to look at the stories coming from Ondo 2024 with the headlines that says, "My certificate genuine, I am cleared, Governor Aidatira." Okay, Ondo State Governor Honorable Lucky Aidatira on Friday declared that contrary to insinuations in some quarters, his West African senior certificate WAEC is genuine, authentic and verifiable. A governorship aspirant on the platform of the All Progressive Congress APC, Bwenga Edima, had petitioned the party's leadership over the allegations that the WAEC certificate being used by Aidatira to contest for the April 20 primary election did not emanate from Ikosi High School, Lagos, as he claimed. Now, addressing journalists after being screened at the APC National Secretariat in Abuja on Friday, the governor announced that he was cleared by the party. He described the issue raised about his certificate as a mischief by other aspirants who noticed that he was the aspirant to beat. Aidatira explained that when Ikosi High School was established in 1980, he was already in Form 3 in a private school which joined the school with his students. Hence, he graduated there in 1982 and 1985, as argued by his detractors. It is on record that the school was established in 1980, and at that time he was already in Form 3 in a private school. New Nation is in Ikosi, while Royal Comprehensive High School is at Jegunle, Ikorodu, very close to Ketu, he said. So all of us, we have moved both New Nation and Royal Comprehensive High School and some other schools that were affected by flood. We were all moved into Ikosi High School, Ketu, that was built by the government, and that was how we wrote our work in 1982 because we were the first set. And he said, I was in Form 3 at that time. It used to be 5 years, not now that you have 6 years for secondary school. So the equation that the petitioner is, how can a school be established in 1980 and we have a fresh set in 1982? That the first set supposed to be in 1985, but he didn't take time to look at the history. So investigation has been conducted. The schools are still there. WAEC office is there, where you can actually verify the subject that he took and the year that he took, graduated, and the school. He said, it is clear to everybody that my certificate is authentic and actually graduated from that school in 1982, he explained. Now, speaking further, Aidetiwa declared that there was no vacancy in the Ondo State. Repent and try to go to the field and work. Repent and try to go to the field and work. If they are interested in the seat and the seat is not vacant, that is why they are trying to do all they are doing, he said. Meanwhile, addressing journalists after his screening, Edema insisted that he did not write a petition against the governor, but sent an advisory to the party to avert impending danger should he emerge the party's candidate. Well, now, I don't know, Stanley, I know you've been following the stories of Aidetiwa for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Yes, they said he was not qualified because they were actually questioning the authenticity of his certificate, because once you don't have a verified certificate or approved certificate, you are not qualified to be in the position.
Yeah.
And later he said, you know, the controversy was really much. And he was, they said, no, he's not qualified. He petitioned the court and an investigation was carried out. And now he said that he has an authentic certificate. What that means, they really carried out investigation properly, right?
You know, what is very much common in the Nigerian politics this time around, as we've seen in the past years, it's every aggrieved party or individual trying to look for possible ways to smear the repute or the personality of whoever that has emerged, even down to situations where seats has been won, and then, you know, candidates being sworn in. But we see situations where court has sacked elected persons down to the governors of state as a result of certificates. And then down to our presidents from the time of Buhari down to that of our current president, Tinubu, it has always been the certificate issues and saga.
Exactly.
So a lot of persons have seen it as a very strong point, you know, to kick against whoever they think is an opposing or intending person to oppose their candidacy or, you know, standing out in the race. And then, in the case of Aidetiwa, it's nothing different in the sense that, you know, people would always want to dig out every possible information or whatever they could to, you know, use as a means or as a tool to undo him or to unseat him as the governor, or to take away the, you know, the ticket of the APC flag bearer from him. But it's unfortunate that those that are questioning his credibility or the credibility of his certificates, his WAEC, have not done their due diligence. Because from all we've seen, of course, he did not just become the governor. Before this time, he has used that certificate on different grants for different purposes, than to campaign an electric disgrace or shame in terms of incredibility in documentation or certificates. And of course, coming with such, according to him, he said it wasn't a petition but an advisory. And coming with that, he should have actually done his due diligence. And the simplest form I expected him to do that was Gota or whatever office he could assess the archives of WAEC to...
Okay, you should have done that before.
Yes, before coming up to the public to talk about his certificate and the rest of it. And of
so
course,
he must have done the underground.
Yes, he should have done all that, you know, to be sure. Before you take up an issue as a concern, a public concern, you should have actually have your facts and your figures that you're actually pushing
not just to discredit
not
the
just
individual.
discrediting. Of course, to a point, in some cases, it can actually be seen as defamation, which can be charged, you know. But at this point, they might not be taking it from that angle. Hence, it's just a common distraction that we see in the political space, where there are a lot of contenders, and everyone is beating to look for, you know, an advantage, an upper hand to, you know, outshine or outsmart every other candidates in that same race. So that is possibly what we just see here. And if they have been screened, we are actually waiting to see who...
very welcome development, because once you allege, you have to prove. And yes, he was very ready to prove, you know,
you can see he has his facts and figures.
He has his facts.
You know, in fact, a ground at which the advisory came or the petition came was continued with their respective classes in their various schools. So that was actually the picture there, which his research or whatever background work he did not capture that aspect. Yes.
All right, let's look at the one coming from judiciary. A high court sitting in Ikeja, Lagos, has granted bail to former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, in the sum of 50 million naira. In his ruling on the bail application on Friday, the judge, Ramon Oshodi, to a 26-count charge bordering on abuse of office brought against him by the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The Lagos State Special Offences Court sitting in Ikeja on Monday reminded the former governor of the CBN in the custody of the EFCC following his arraignment. Justice Ramon Oshodi made the remand order after Emefiele and his co-defendant Harry Omoile pleaded not guilty to a 26-count charge. Earlier granted to the defendant by Justice Hamzat Muazu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja, and that he be released to his lawyers pending to the perfection of the jail terms. Now, the EFCC lawyer Rotimi Oyedepo San did not oppose the bail application, but urged the judge to impose conditions that will compel the defendants to court for their trial. The defendants, as you can see, were accused of accepting gratification, accepting gift through agents, corruption, fraudulent property receipts. He was also accused of conferring a corrupt advantage on his associates, contrary to the Corrupt Practices Act of 2000, and the charge filed on April 3rd by the EFCC prosecutor Rotimi Oyedepo San. Now, this is a case of Emefiele, the CBN governor. We noticed what has been really going on his case. He's been remanded in EFCC custody. We know about corruption, money laundering, and so on and so forth. There are 26 count charge. But today he's been there because while he was there, they will always bring a fresh charge count on him.
They always get a charge,
But today he was granted bail. So I don't know your reaction on this.
The case of Emefiele, I think, has been a long-lasting one.
Exactly.
Right from the time of the Naira scarcity down to this point. And it has, to a point, there has been a misreaction at this point. And a lot of persons also, you know, thinking it's a way of getting to him for the policies that were not, you know, people-friendly. back then. But coming to this case on ground at this point, yes, he's been granted bail to the tune of 50 million. It's necessary. They're definitely not going to hold him against the bail application if there are no grants or if there are no justifiable proof that he needed to, remain in custody, and hence they have granted him bail. It's just my concern at times. And the cases and the charges they actually, levy against a person, and the bail charge amounts. At times, I get concerned when considering how outrageous they are. I've seen cases where the bail amount is actually surmounting or getting above the fraud charge that is brought against the person before the court. The amount for the bail is most of the times I've seen cases where it's actually more than what the person is being charged for in terms of fraudulent confinement and the rest of it. And I've seen similar incidents in the case of Emefiele. And if you begin to consider all the bail charge granted him and the sum amount put together, it's actually something, if we should take analysis to that, it's actually something alarming. And you begin to imagine, is it actually a ploy to get most of the fund or resources they think that has been in his possession, as alleged, away from him before judgment has been passed? And also, in judicial system, this money that are also being charged for bail, how is it being utilized? How is it being utilized? How is it being accounted for? Then these are also concerns that we should actually, ponder upon. And then, however, overall, we should actually talk about having an expedited, judicial process where investigations and judgments on a case has to, be concluded within a very short possible time, in order not to, bring about the case of remanding someone over and over and over again, or repeating same charges on same issues or same crimes from different, angles or different jurisdictions of courts, sitting on that on particular matters. So at this point, it's actually something that people are waiting to hear the final outcome on this same case of Emefiele. We know too well that after the judgment is passed, there might be one form of appeal or the other to get to the apex court, and which is the Supreme Court. And a lot of persons are losing interest in this. People want to see a situation where cases are initiated in court and actions are expedited, to pass a very credible judgment, and people feel comfortable and have confidence that when they pass through the judicial system, it will be, they will get the required justice that is required. A lot of persons have actually resorted to their fate, not going to the court because of delays, because of uncertainties, and because of the lack of confidence, that is, shouldered with, the proceeding and the processes of the court. So these are things that generally Nigerian judicial system should look into and, address for, confidence for the people, the citizens and the Nigerian people to, have confidence in dealing with them and bringing issues to them.
Some people doubt their investigation process. Yes, now, because if you don't investigate a matter, immediately, you wouldn't even get to the root of it. And yes, and a lot of people will lose their they will lose interest.
Of course, the way initially when this case started, a lot of persons were so interested.
They were so interested. Now, they want to know the outcome.
Yeah, the outcome.
Did he really do it? To what reasonable extent did he do this?
And so was he acting on his own will or on the orders of the former president and all that? A lot of interest. The interest was high, but at this point, it's all fading away. It's fading away, and it's something that the court should actually take into cognizance to address once and for all. You know, that's an area the court need to look into, expediting action.
Yeah, they have to look into, expediting action, like you said, so that people can really repose confidence in the judicial system. Yes, whenever any case is being called upon like that, most especially the stakeholders, if you don't properly investigate the matter immediately, put up a accelerated hearing, like they said in the court, people will get to the root of it, know the truth, and if the person is found guilty, though not pleading guilty doesn't mean that the person is not guilty.
Yeah, sure.
But then investigation, facts and figures will prove the person that you are guilty, and either you, if you're guilty, you'll be
liable
convicted.
to whatever crime it is.
Of course, and so that it will serve as a deterrent to other people, because that's a sensitive position. Anyway.
Because of the direction this case is actually taking, a lot of persons are already trying to, look at it from the angle that it's now becoming a witch hunt.
Okay.
A lot of persons, yes.
When he was given the second, the fresh count charge.
Exactly. The way the arraignment came, he was charged, and why still before hearing the the charges were withdrawn, fresh charges, levied, increased, being reduced.
Exactly.
We've seen different inconsistencies. So it was as though there were there were a lot of political undertone. There were no, leveraging ground at which they just wanted to name him, they just wanted to hold him, they just wanted to get back at him and all that. So it's actually looking like a witch hunt. More of not really like putting policies in place or correcting the errors, of the period. So, and the courts actually have a role to play to clarify this and to reimpose and to get the people's confidence back on their part.
All right. Well, that's much we can take on that. When we come back, we're going to look at another stories involving a man, a wife, in drug trafficking. They're arrested in India. So just stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
On the point of order.
Honorable
You're a human
On the point.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on Atn.
We're pleased to have you back on Atlantic Television Network, and the program is Press Roundtable. Let's take the stories. The Narcotics Control Bureau in Goa, India, has said it has busted a drug syndicate allegedly run by a Nigerian identified as Stanley and his wife, Ushasi. Asset worth runs 1.06 crore linked to the couple have also been frozen as part of the operation. According to the Press Trust of India on Thursday, Amit Gwawati, the additional director of NCB Goa, revealed this development in a statement released on Thursday, April 11, 2024. According to Hawati, Stanley was apprehended on Wednesday following a thorough investigation. He stated that acting on reliable information, the NCB Goa team confiscated 7.35 grams of cocaine from Raju S., a resident of Saligao, on February 13, 2024. Wati said during initial investigation in the case, it was learned that the accused was merely a peddler working for a bigger drug network being operated by Stanley, a Nigerian national, his wife, Ushasi, both residing in Kadloni. It was further learned that the kingpin, Stanley, had associated some local people to whom he used to provide drugs in bulk for delivery to his various customers. On February 16, 2024, the NCB Goa arrested another field peddler identified as Michael, a taxi driver from Kandolim. Following the leads, NCB raided the house of the kingpin, Stanley, but he was already arrested by the Telangana police in the NDPC case there. Subsequent investigations revealed that Ushasi, his wife, alongside her husband, was actively engaged in drug trafficking and managing the proceeds generated by this drug network. Accordingly, Ushasi, his wife, was placed under arrest on February 21, 2024, when proceedings for identification of illegally acquired properties by them were initiated in order to weaken the whole drug network, he added. He disclosed illegally obtained properties totaling 1 crore rupees and belonging to Ushasi and Stanley have been identified and frozen by the NCB. On Wednesday, Stanley was arrested by NCB Goa and further investigations is in progress, Gwati added. Now, these are Nigerians, a man and wife arrested for drug trafficking in India. Now, looking at the story, this is a family. It's a family. Yeah, it's a family, yeah, a man and a wife, a couple. Yeah, it's a couple. So why would do they think that they are going to do this and get away with it? And you know, they bought some property, they established themselves in order to hide on them. Yeah, that's what people. Exactly, that's what they do. Exactly. So once you're operating illegally, either you're doing child trafficking.
Yes, they have ways to put false
image. Yes,
to
false image, so that people will not even look at
identify
it.
And they always want to present one business outlet or the other as their source. Why on doing what they're doing underground? Exactly, exactly.
Some will open supermarkets, yes, some will open shops, you know.
Just to cover up the undertone of their business. So it's, you know, while looking at this, it's still transiting to that national image that Nigerians in diaspora is always giving to Nigerians. And then, you know, yes, Nigerians are doing exploit on the positive ground out there in the global, you know, scene. But coming to hear cases of crime, you know, situations and all that, it's not actually a pleasant one. However, the law is actually there to, you know, take its course. And I believe that once you're doing something in an illegal ground, unjustifiable to earn means, it's always going to come to an abrupt end. One day, sooner or later. So hence, it's ideal and advisable that whatever or whoever you are, whatever you're doing, wherever you find yourself, you stand on the, on a credible ground, on a justifiable means to earn, do something that is socially accepted, and earn decent, earn income decently, in a decent way. There are different ways. Nigerians are enterprising. You don't necessarily need to, tend towards crime, because anything done, in the international scene is no longer about the individual now. It is actually bearing a national image. And it is this national image that has restricted a lot of enterprising Nigerians, from opportunities. I've come across, openings. I've come across enlistment of countries for businesses, for summits, for trainings, for sponsorship, for programs, and the rest of it. And I came to realize or observe that Nigerians or Nigeria was not eligible for it. And I began to ask myself why, and the reason is not far-fetched. Some of these things are actually because of the, in quotes, the impression that having Nigerians into it might defeat the essence, because there might be, some sharp practices, some persons trying to, cut corners, some persons trying to, bring, take parts that is not, recommended in the process. And this is actually what every, global organization, international body is actually kicking against. So we should actually be compatriots. We should consider, our nation first.
Exactly.
Consider the national image first, whatever you're doing, especially when you're out there in the diaspora. So at this point, I just want to use it because hearing the story, that was just, I wasn't so interested about analyzing so much about, it's a crime. There is no way to analyze it. There is no way to consider it. It's just about building and rebranding the image of the country. I think the policies, the government,
is just painting us.
Yes, it's painting us in a very wrong light. Yes, so
giving us a very wrong image.
If at this point the government and its policy is trying to put things right, is trying to get things right, individually and our own enterprise, both in the here in the country and outside the country, we should actually do things right too, to redeem our image. Especially when it comes to redeeming our image, a lot need to be done. Nigeria, the government will not be the one, to come do that. It is what we Nigerians are doing out there, that will stand in the ground to redeem the image of Nigeria for Nigerians.
Come to think about the effect on the children. The effect on the children, yes, now, because most of them may not know, but the parents are involved in drug trafficking.
Yes, of course, and in this situation, if I believe they are couples, and it's very much likely that they might have kids, though that's undisclosed. And at this point, the kids would be passing through one, harsh experience or the other. They possibly, if they are still, minors, they will actually be in one welfare home or the other. And at the end of the day, they only look for, a diplomatic means of repatriating them down to Nigeria, or, handing them over to relevant agencies to, take it up from that point. So while we do things, we shouldn't just do it for the sake of ourselves alone. It is for posterity, for our kids, for, those around us, and the influence it's going to have on our immediate environment. Now the couple, the husband and the wife is involved and they have been caught in it. What happened? Now at this point, whatever proceed they have gotten out of it's gone. It's gone. They have already frozen the assets. They say that was acquired, yes, illegally.
Even the bank
everything has been confiscated. So at the end of the day, what's their sense? Once you're actually thriving in crime, it also takes a snip of the finger for you to lose everything. It takes.
You can't just do crime and just
get away from it, get away with it. So that is just one thing that everyone needs to have, very conscious at heart, and why towing the path of uprightness and legal means of earning, income.
All right, let's look at another story. Some Naira abuse. A court sentences Bobrisky. It's really been happening today to 6 months in prison. The Federal High Court in Lagos on Friday sentenced controversial cross-dresser Idris Olarewaju Okuneye, popularly known as Bobrisky, to 6 months imprisonment without the option of a fine for abusing the Naira. Justice Abimbola Awoboro, while sentencing the convicted, said the judgment will be a deterrent to others who are found abusing and mutilating the Naira. Before the sentence, the judge asked about his sex and he quickly replied that he was a man. The judge ruled that the jail term commenced on March 24, 2024, the day of his arrest. It will be recorded that the court had on April 5 convicted him after he pleaded guilty to the charge of abusing the Naira filed against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The judge therefore postponed the sentence to Tuesday, April 9, 2024. However, the day was declared a public holiday by the federal government for the Eid al-Fitr celebration. Bobrisky had last Friday, after his conviction, pleaded with the courts to give him a lesser punishment as he was not aware of the law of abusing the Naira. In his allocutus, Bobrisky begged the court that he was not aware of the law of abusing the Naira. He said that he is a social media influencer with over 5 million followers. The judge then told him that ignorance of the law was not an excuse. He said, "I know, my lord. My lord, I wish that you could give me a second chance to use my platform to inform and educate my followers about spraying money. I will do a video on my page and I will educate people about spraying money. I will not repeat it, my lord. I regret my actions, my lord." As you can see, Bobrisky there, you can see him. This didn't really happen this morning when the news really broke up that he's going to be sentenced to 6 months imprisonment for spraying Naira. But this is a crime. I'm looking at it. This is what almost everyone, majority of the people engage in spraying of the Naira.
Of course.
So what is really behind this? Because when you go to weddings,
it's common. It's a common practice.
Yes, it's a common practice. So why will his own be an issue?
Okay, you know,
yes.
one thing is...
yeah, I need to know.
What others are held accountable for as a crime does not mean they're actually the only one in it. It's just that maybe others has not been caught up with. Okay. And putting up with the fact that he is a cross-dresser, a public figure, a celebrity, an influencer. So whatever little thing he does in a little light, influence other persons, gain so much attention, and even attract the attention of the relevant agencies to enforce such laws that others has been flaunting, without being caught or without being held accountable for it. So in his case, it was easily noticed. It was easily noticed. It was an easy call for invitation to relevant agencies. And of course, there were evidential truths about it. The video were there.
And he admitted.
Yes, he admitted. Of course, you have to admit. If you don't even admit, it makes your punishment stiffer.
Oh, really?
Yes, because in a court sentence, in fact, there are a lot of angles to his sentencing. There are a lot of controversies. There are a lot of debates. There are a lot of persons speaking out to his 6 month sentencing. Why? Because first, in the case, he actually pleaded guilty. And then he's a first-time offender. Okay. So in this case, being a first-time offender and pleading guilty to the offense automatically reduces the punishment. Okay. And hence with the offense he was being charged for, at most often it's not a prison sentence. Okay. It's not a prison sentence. In a situation as this, we have most commonly community service. Okay. In this case, where he can actually be subjected to 3 months, 6 months, as the case may be, of community service. It could be sweeping the courtyard, it could be sweeping the street, it could be going to the marketplaces to enlighten people, it could be going to the prison or to the orphanage home, to do social works or any form of social work. it's the list is endless. So these are actually the angles or the ranges of sentences or punishment that could be attached to such violation. But in his case, none came in that light. Considering the fact, of course, it was, I believe it was as a result of the advice from his counsel, his defending counsels, that he pleaded guilty. With the understanding that, okay, the judgment will come down to a community service. But the reverse, it was a different thing altogether, ending him 6 months, in prison, which has attracted a lot of, advocates from even lawyers and renowned, individuals in the society. So this is actually a situation where you begin to ask, away from the fact that he was being arraigned for something others has been doing, and then he's also, being meted with a stiffer, punishment that was, in quote, considered to be beyond the offense limit. Yes, he was, of course, he was very remorseful. So at this point, it's also seems like a lot of unspoken factors. A lot of persons are saying that the sentences was not as a result of the crime, that there could be something the EFCC is not talking about. So, but however, whether there is something the EFCC is talking about or they are not talking about, what was presented to before the court was the abuse of naira
and the money laundering.
So, and the money laundering.
They struck it away.
Yes, that was actually the case. They didn't strike that away. That was the case. It was about is it 4 or 6 charges which they struck at the order, and the one before the court was just the mutilation. And then yes, and the naira mutilation and the abuse of the naira. So, and that is what the court stood upon. So if it was for these two, it wasn't supposed to attract that as much as 6 months in prison. But however, they said the only way to question the judgment of the court is to appeal. So at this point, when there are a lot of persons speaking.
But then, when though you're not a lawyer, I know a lot of people are really speaking.
Yes.
But then, with the little knowledge we have here, once you've been sentenced, can you still go for appeal?
Yes, of course. Once you've been sentenced, you can appeal. It's only when the Supreme Court is actually the one that has passed the judgment.
Okay.
Even when the Supreme Court passed the judgment, there could actually be, a situation where the councils could, or the councils could be actually be asked to review their judgment for errors or possible, undertone of, facts not considered. But in as much as it is coming from any other level of, court judgment, it can be appealed. However, for that appeal to come, it has to come within a specific period of time.
Okay.
Yes. Now that he's been sentenced, he can actually choose. It's 6 months. 6 months literally is 3 months.
Okay.
It's 3 months. No, yes. It's because it's not counted 6 months as with it's day and night. So that 6 months actually is 3 months for the time validity. So if being sentenced for that, you look at it. If he begins to appeal following court processes, it might even take more than the actual, sentencing for him to get a final judgment. At the end of the day, he might consider it as being worthless, to appeal. At the end of the day, he might just decide to relax. And then he can also choose to appeal. And cases, we are talking about expedited action by, judges and the judiciary when cases are being brought to them.
This is not Nigeria. Once you appeal, it will even take 2 months.
It will take. They will have to give. Yes, they will have to give EFCC time to respond. They can now use delay tactics to, withdraw, make adjustment and all that. Before at the end of the day, it might take more than the sentencing period that has already been passed, and it becomes regretful on your end. Why? And you don't even know what the judgment will be. At the end of the day, if the judgment will still reaffirm what the other lower court has actually passed, or it will be cancelling it. So at the end of the day, if you look at it, it might not be a battle war time fighting. Wow. So you just let it. But if you want to appeal, the judgment has just been passed, usually within a space of, depending on the judgment that is passed, within a space of 3-4 weeks to maybe 2 months or less, depending on the case that is being considered at this point. So that is actually what is the option now he has. But at this point nobody is talking about appealing. Why? Because appealing at this point, is almost not solving any issue. It's almost it's not going to solve any issue, in as much as we're talking about the Nigerian judicial system.
Exactly, and if it's going to run concurrently, like you said, like day and night, I think it's 3 months.
Yes,
so
3 months. So definitely, if you begin to look at 3 months, it's possible that appealing might take beyond 3 months for judgment to also be passed. So at the end of the day, he'll just decide to hold his peace, and his lawyers will also be there to advise him. So.
Yeah, but there's a character I took notes on him. He was very remorseful.
Very remorseful.
You could see.
I think those are some of the things judges actually considered when before or when passing their judgment. And since all of this, none of it was put into consideration.
Or probably was put into consideration for giving him 6 months.
Yeah, do you think it should have been more than...
What if it's like 2 years?
No, the constitution is actually there.
Okay.
For every crime you are being convicted of, it's no longer in the will of the judge,
but then from the
choose to choose how heavy your sentences will be. He also refers to the constitution. So for this crime, it is between this and this. And for a crime, you either go with an option of a fine or you serve the sentence. So, but in his case, there was no option of fine. Because if they have given him an option of fine, definitely would have gone for the fine. And in cases as this, the option of fine is usually something very significant. It could be that the option of fine will be something less than 100,000 or even less than 50,000. So possibly taking off the option of a fine was also very deliberate. Who knows? And then all this, the crimes, each offense has stipulated, range of, punishment that should be measured, down to life imprisonment, down to death sentences, and the rest of it. Crimes goes with commensurate punishment from the Constitution.
Come to think of it, how will he survive in that environment?
A lot of persons. A lot of persons has raised. There are a lot of sarcastic questions and concerns that people has raised. Where are they going to put him? Exactly.
So now
before now, a lot of areas and angles has been raised. Before now, people were asking what are they going to put him in? Is it for the male or for the female?
Well, he admitted
he has admitted, so that has taken care of that.
Exactly.
Now, of course, in such a situation, it's possible that he should have a routine in terms of medication. There may be a daily routine.
Maybe they'll give him access to that.
Of course, I believe that. Of course,
think so.
Yes, they will give him, because even when in such cases, they are not to restrict him from accessing medical care, in as much as it's not a death sentence and all that. So he's going to have access to it. But of course, you can never compare it with when you are in the comfort of your home, and when you are in the prison trying to take judgment. It's always going to be a difference. So all that, and we just pray that he comes out strong, he comes out whole, and it comes out a better person. And
those who abuse Naira should also take note, because once you do that again,
seriously, those of us that are in our local corners, in our local events, spraying the Naira, should take note that one day the agency might just walk in and you might just go in for it.
Exactly. So the EFCC, they are just there monitoring you. Well, that's so much we can take for today on Press Roundtable. You can stay connected on our socials and follow and like our page.